History of the U.S.S. Enterprise E. The U.S.S. Enterprise NCC-1701-E was a 24th century Sovereign-class starship operated by Starfleet. This was the sixth Federation starship to bear the name Enterprise. On stardate 49827.5, the Sovereign-class Enterprise E was seen as a pinnacle of Starfleet ship design. Was launched from San Francisco Fleet Yards with Captain Jean-Luc Picard in command once more. Much more of the crew of the Enterprise D had been assigned there, including almost the entire senior staff. The sole exception was Lieutenant Commander Worf, who had already transferred to the space station Deep Space Nine. After almost a year in space, the Enterprise was ordered to the Romulan neutral zone during the second Borg incursion. Starfleet was officially concerned about the possibility of Romulan military action since many of the available ships had been diverted to fight the Borg, but in reality Starfleet was concerned about Picard's presence at the battle. However, shortly after the Federation fleet had engaged the Borg cube, Picard disobeyed orders and returned to Earth to assist the fleet. Once there, Picard became aware of the battle, including the weakness in the Borg cube due to his residual link to the Collective, and ordered all ships in the fleet to concentrate their fire at that one section of the ship. As a result, the Borg vessel was destroyed, and the Battle of Sector 001 was a victory for Starfleet. Before the Borg cube was destroyed, it had launched a second vessel towards Earth. This ship created a temporal vortex and traveled back to the year 2063 in order to stop Zefram Cochrane from launching his historic warp ship, the Phoenix. Their hope was to prevent the first contact with the Vulcans and assimilate Earth before the Federation could be formed to resist them. The Enterprise, protected from alterations in the timeline by the vortex, chased the Borg into the pass and destroyed their ship, then sent an away team to help protect Cochrane and repair the Phoenix. However, the ship's sensors and shields were damaged during the trip through the vortex, and unbeknownst to the crew, several Borg drones transported aboard the Enterprise before their ship exploded. They began to assimilate the ship's engineering section below Deck 10. They also attempted to build an interplexing beacon on the Enterprise deflector dish to contact the Borg Collective of that time period. A three-man away team led by Captain Picard stopped the beacon from being completed and separated the deflector from the ship by disengaging the magnetic locks and then destroying it. However, the Borg's ability to adapt to the handheld weapons of the Enterprise crew made stopping them impossible, and Picard realized that the fight was a lost cause. After great consideration, he reluctantly ordered the evacuation of the ship and activated the ship's auto-destruct sequence to prevent the Borg from interfering with the Phoenix flight. He eventually confronted the Borg Queen in main engineering, only to find to his horror that the Borg had apparently turned Lieutenant Commander Data to their side. He aborted the auto-destruct and fired 3 quantum torpedoes at the Phoenix. However, the torpedoes completely missed their target, and Data revealed that he had in fact simply been deceiving the Borg. After mockingly repeating the Borg mantra, "Resistance is futile," Data smashed open the plasma conduit tank, flooding main engineering with the plasma coolant and liquefying the Borg Queen and all drones in engineering. This apparently disabled all other drones on the ship and allowed Data and Picard to recapture the vessel. The Enterprise crew was successful in helping Cochrane make his flight and instigate first contact with the Vulcans. The ship then returned to 2373, where she was repaired and then returned to service. With the Federation diplomatic corps attempting to negotiate an end to the Dominion War, the Enterprise was relegated to a diplomatic role, much to the dissatisfaction of Picard. In 2375, the Enterprise was conducting a diplomatic mission with the Evrola, a new Federation protectorate species, and was scheduled to resolve a dispute in the Goran system when her crew became embroiled in a plot by the Sonat, assisted by Starfleet Admiral Matthew Donnery, to forcibly remove the Baku from their isolated world in the Briar Patch. The Sona turned out to be a vengeful former Baku who had been exiled from the planet after their failed coup a century prior. They planned to harvest metaphasic radiation from the planet's ring system and intended Starfleet's cooperation to carry out the plan. Captain Picard felt that the relocation of the Baku was a severe violation of the Prime Directive and resigned his commission, leading an away team of the Enterprise crew members to the Baku planet to prevent their capture and removal. Commander William T. Riker was instructed to take the Enterprise and contact the Federation Council to alert them of Admiral Donneray's treachery. However, the Enterprise was required to navigate an area of space known as the Briar Patch in order to contact Starfleet Command. This area disrupted communications as well as the ship's impulse drive. 2 Sona battlecruisers were sent to intercept the Enterprise before she left the Briar Patch and severely damaged the ship in the process. The warp core was ejected in order to seal a dangerous tear in subspace created by the isolytic weapons of the Sona. Riker was able to outwit the Sona by collecting Metreon gas native to the Briar Patch and then venting it behind the ship. When the Sona used their weapons, the gas exploded, destroying one ship and severely damaging the other. Geordi LaForge half-jokingly commented that the tactic could become known as the Riker maneuver. The Enterprise visited Earth for several days in 2376 around the time of the Pathfinder project and made contact with the U.S.S. Voyager and conducted a mission about 7 light-years from Earth the following year. According to Deanna Troi, it was an important mission, but the objective was never discussed. Sometime between 2375 and 2379, the Enterprise underwent a major refit. 4 additional aft-facing photon torpedo tubes were added, along with 1 more forward-facing photon tube, a twin launcher at the aft of the bridge, a single launcher above the aft hangar deck, and a single launcher at the forward base of the bridge. Additionally, new nacelle pylons were fitted at the time, slightly longer, broader, and more sharply swept than the originals, and fitted with 4 additional phaser arrays. In 2379, the Enterprise returned to Earth for the wedding of William T. Riker and Deanna Troi. She departed for Beta Z, where another ceremony, a traditional Betazoid wedding, was scheduled. While en route, the ship detected unusual positronic signals from the Calaran system, discovering another Soon-type android, the prototype B4. Shortly following, the Enterprise was ordered to Romulus for a meeting with the new Praetor Shinzon, who apparently wanted to initiate peace talks. Both the discovery of B4 and the peace overtures turned out to be a ruse to capture Captain Picard and discover tactical positions of Starfleet vessels. Once it became clear that Shinzon was going to use his starship, the Scimitar, to destroy all life on Earth and wage war on the Federation, the Enterprise was to join the Starfleet battle group Omega and make a final stand against Shinzon. Shinzon caught up to the Enterprise in the Bassin Rift, and in the ensuing confrontation, the vessel was severely damaged, including a major hull breach on the bridge, destroying the view screen and controls, disabling the warp core. As a last resort, Picard ordered Counselor Deanna Troi to take control of the Enterprise and have it ram the Scimitar, causing the destruction of most of the saucer section's forward area. The collision disabled the Scimitar, but Shinzon, driven by revenge, activated his deadly Thalaron weapon and trained it on the Enterprise. The weapon was overloaded and the Scimitar was destroyed due to interference by Commander Data, who sacrificed himself to save the Enterprise, Picard, and indirectly Earth. Following the Scimitar incident, the Enterprise returned to Earth where it underwent extensive repairs in one of the orbiting space docks. Technical information. In her original configuration, the Enterprise E was under 700 meters long and had 24 decks, according to Jean-Luc Picard, although Deck 26 was reported as being controlled by the Borg. She was equipped with 12 phaser arrays and 5 photon torpedo tubes. By 2379, the Enterprise E had undergone at least 1 refit, including 4 additional phaser arrays and 5 additional photon torpedo tubes. The number of decks was also increased to 5, a minimum of 29, by Star Trek Nemesis. Sections included deflector controls, stellar cartography, hydroponics, and 1 sickbay ward. Main engineering and sickbay were on Deck 16. The ship could be controlled by a manual steering column located on the bridge. She was also the first Enterprise to be equipped with an emergency medical hologram. The Enterprise carried a newer design of shuttlecraft as well as numerous other forms of transportation, including warp-capable captain's yacht, the Clouseau, and a special multi-purpose shuttlecraft, the Argo. The yacht was installed as part of the saucer section and detached upon deployment. Other auxiliary craft were launched from 2 shuttle bays. The 10-foot physical model, constructed under the supervision of John Goodson at Industrial Light and Magic, was used for the visual effects shots during Star Trek First Contact, alongside a CGI model in Insurrection and Star Trek Nemesis. CGI versions of the ship completely replaced the physical model. The model of the Enterprise E from Star Trek First Contact was sold at the 40 Years of Star Trek The Collection auction on October 5, 2006 for $132,000, including the buyer's premium. Sovereign class dimensions. It is apparent from the lineup charts that every new Starship Enterprise is slightly longer than the previous one. In Star Trek First Contact, Picard informs Lily that the Enterprise E is almost 700 meters long, in accordance with its intended size of 2,248 feet or 685 meters. Apocrypha. In Star Trek Countdown, the Enterprise was still active as of 2387 with Data as captain, having been revived after successfully imprinting his neural network into B4's existing CPU. The timeline for Star Trek Online follows the storyline in the Countdown comic series, with Data as captain into the 25th century. The timeline only mentions that the Enterprise E left service around 2408, but its ultimate fate was unclear. However, by 2409, a new Odyssey-class vessel, christened the U.S.S. Enterprise NCC-1701-E, implying that her predecessor was decommissioned or destroyed. That concludes the history of the U.S.S. Enterprise E.